Wait, hold up. There's a lot of things going on in the world right now. Are you ready? Are your spirits ready for what is coming ahead of us? You must prepare yourself and put the full armor of God on. Miss Celestial back with another prophetic message. Sometimes the messenger gets judged. You need to judge the message. Check this out.
You're coming from these Freemason families. You're coming from these Sigma, Delta, Pi, Kappa 2 times 12. That stuff, it is not without a cost. Be there. Be there. Be on there. Go on. Step and do it for little Raz or do it for whoever and think that it's cost free. It is not cost free. Nothing with Satan is free and cheap. Let me tell you something about the devil. He will collect even if you stay ignorant about the fact that you owe. Did you hear me? I said the devil will collect even if you choose to stay ignorant about the fact that you owe. Letter societies, Kappa Delta, Delta Sigma Phi, all of that stuff falls under Freemasonry. Freemasonry has so many levels, and the high levels where they eat flesh, they won't let you little cankerworms at the bottom know about it. No, they tell you that it's brotherhood. They tell you that it's a network. They tell you that it's family. Satan will collect regardless of the fact that you're ignorant about the fact that you owe. He will collect from you in your ignorance all your life. He will collect from your kids later on. Your kids may go into the letter organization or they may not. They will pay your spiritual bills. Because what? You don't touch the devil's things and then think that you will walk away scot-free. It's a whole lie. It's a lie from the pit of hell. You lie if you think that joining these organizations is cost-free. You think because you're walking around and because you get calls to get into these top jobs and everything, you think that you won't pay? You will pay at a time you're not expecting it and in ways you never envisaged. And for most of you, you will never add 2 plus 2. Because you've been told that the letter organization is a door into bigger things, better things. Those sodomites are waiting for you. They always collect. They will collect in flesh and then you will pay the devil later again in spirit. You will not get out for free. So you can take that to the bank. Do with it what you want. TD Jakes is not the only Freemason in the country. There's a lot of you in the letter organizations of all racial backgrounds that have bills to pay in the future that are waiting for you. You will pay for those steps. You will pay for those dances. You will pay for those oaths, for those flipping of the... You will pay. You, your brothers and your sisters, you will pay. You think you're going to take oaths to something that's not God? You think you're going to swear? Oaths of silence? Oaths of this? I swear to always this and that, and then just say no. It's to make sure that we stay bonded and we stay connected. There's no demons in it. Let the bills come calling. I know nobody will be writing a check at my table. Because some of you can't hear until you feel. And then when you feel, here comes the victim mentality. No accountability. Let's not victim blame and shame on the master's voice. Blast it to the skies will you be, because you are told and you continue to resist and refuse. Would benefit from going back to look at that, but the scripture is here in Exodus. I explained the whole thing, and I'm just going to read you the scripture now and give you a brief, very brief look at the meaning of it. Exodus chapter 1 and verses 15 to, I think I'll stop at 17. Exodus 1, 15 to 17. Then the king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrew midwives, of whom the name of one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. And he said, when you do the duties of a midwife for the Hebrew women, and you see them on the birth stools, if it is a son, then you shall kill him. But if it is a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives feared God, and they did not do as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the male children alive. And so this is talking about the time that God has already spoken to Abraham in Genesis, and he has told him, I will make you the father of many nations. And he told Abraham, come out of your tent, look into the heavens and see as multiple how many the stars are. That's how many your descendants will be. And so he's saying this to one lonely man that has been praying and wishing and praying and hoping. and waiting in faith and trust in the Lord for a child. And the time has not come for them to have a baby yet. And Abraham's heart is burdened because he's thinking, I'm getting older, and he's looking at the natural situation. And then God wants to encourage him and tells him, come out, and you see how many the stars are, and you know how many sands they have at the seashore. That's how many your people will be. And then later Abraham moves on past time and he goes away. And then we have the 12 tribes, and they're living now in Egypt, but they're in captivity. And the Bible records that these people are growing despite the adversity that they face. Listen to this. Exodus 1 and verse 11, therefore they set taskmasters over them to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh supply cities, Pithom and Ramesses. Verse 12, but the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were in dread of the children of Israel. And so this verse reveals to you that when the hand of God was on Israel, despite very harsh circumstances, where the Bible records that their taskmasters, the Egyptians, made them serve with rigor. That means that they not only had to work, but they had to work in extremely, extremely horrible and damaging circumstances, for they were slaves. This is less food, less rest, no health care, excessive beating. You become an object of disgust and disdain. Everywhere you go, you are hated. The only place you can feel some peace is in the land that Joseph had set aside for them, called Goshen. But even in Goshen, they come roll call at 4 a.m. in the morning for you to go and start building these huge supply cities that Egypt was famous for. And so these people are suffering in an extensive and very pervasive manner. None of them are having a good time of it. And yet God is somehow managing to increase their numbers. He's creating armies inside of Egypt, and the Pharaoh is not blind. The new Pharaoh that is existing doesn't know much about Joseph, because Joseph has passed on and some generations have passed on. And now all the Pharaoh sees is there's a large mass of people living in this country that are not us, that are very strong. Israelites were extremely strong. They were very, very strong, tall, mighty presenting men and women. And as you will see throughout their history, it only took a few thousand of them to beat tens of thousands of people. Pharaoh could go and muster 1,000,000-man army, and you just put 10,000, 15,000 Israelites there, and it would be a wrap. And so they were known for their size, their strength, their speed, and their fearless warlike nature. And so Pharaoh is watching what doesn't look like them, what doesn't match with them, growing in the midst. And please understand that this is not a white-black situation. Back in those days, they're all brown. They're not tawny. They're all varying shades of ochre, dark black, mahogany, and all that. And so it's same to same externally, but they know we are different, and they were feeling threatened. And Pharaoh comes up with what can only be termed eugenics. Eugenics. The act of purging out the different, the act of purging out the other from our midst, using what? Using legalized government policy. It is not eugenics if it's only happening in one neighborhood. It is not eugenics if it's only happening in one state. To be eugenics, it absolutely has to be nationalized policy. All the hospitals have to be doing it. All the police stations have to be doing it. All the schools have to be doing it. All the employment places have to be doing it. It has to be pervasive throughout all levels of the society, practiced everywhere for it to count as genocide, for it to count as eugenics. In other words, to give it that special pop, it has to come from the top. And so the president of Egypt says, you know what? Since they're increasing in numbers, let's go to the root. We're going to pull up the roots. Societies grow and strengthen themselves by the male. Anytime you enter a society and you hear that the female is too loud, the female is too praised, the female is too much at the front, you know what you're looking at in that society? America, let me tell you, because 1,000 other empires have gone through it. When you get to the point where the female is centralized, she, her beauty, her wit, her womb, you're looking at an empire just about to die. I know nowadays feminism tells us, oh, You're looking at an empire at its apex. It's finally recognizing the female. It's finally lifting up the female. It's finally prioritizing the female. Female this, female that. Bible readers know, God's people know, even God's girls know. When you come into any society and the woman is centralized, at this point, we're about to have a woman leader, you know that God has left you. Because God says that when he's ready to destroy you, you're either going to get an empty-headed, capricious child, a youth as your leader. Second time that you know that God has left you, a woman will rule over you. Doesn't matter if you're a woman today, you don't like how it sounds. This is Bible. God's women love the Bible. God's women understand biblical placement. God's women understand that he made the man first. God made the man first out of the soil. Man is connected to this world that God has made. Woman was made out of man. Woman is connected to the flesh of man. God made no mistakes. He knew exactly what he was doing. This is why the woman is more attached to the man, because she came out of him. She's his rib. She's of him. The man came out of this earth, shaped by his father's hands. And that is just how it is. So you enter any society, look at any society at the end of time. Anytime you see two things rising at the same time, you see the woman rising, you should know that Jezebel is rising. And when you see homosexuality and effeminate male behavior rising, just know you're at the end of Greece, you're at the end of Rome, you're at the end of any society you want to put your finger on. Once the woman is first and the man is behind, you've come to the end of the useful existence of that society. America is there now. You can see all the signs. Everywhere you look, it's she. We are at the end, and therefore it should be no surprise to anyone why I'm sitting here reading out the kind of prophecies that I have. It's the end now. It's finished, and God has simply come to dress the righteous so that as we traverse the journey, we can be clean and ready to meet him according to what he requires for his righteous standard. And so the king says we're going to go to the root of the problem. And he now comes and says we're going to kill male children. If it's a female, no problem, let them live. Because he knows that the uncovered woman is as good as dead. Uncovered woman, uncovered children, you're as good as dead. Women and children are no match for Satan. Satan's plans, Satan's ploys, Satan's attacks, Satan's problems. Every single mom knows what I'm saying is the truth. That boy will hit an age where all he will give you is tears. You will do your best with him. And you will always have to fight. That is because when the boy is growing up, there comes a time where the rod called manhood will stand up in him. And the only thing that is able to disciple, discipline, and lead that rod is his dad, is his father. He will constantly be looking for that rod in him to be shaped. Iron sharpening iron. And you as the mom, if you're honest, you know that it has been a different journey raising your teen girl than it has been raising your teen boy. So Pharaoh says, let's go to the roots and let's cut the bud in the earth. But the midwives would not do it. But then again, God has given me a dream to show you that it's not the midwives on duty. It is not the midwives on duty. It is actually what happened later when the midwives refused to do what Pharaoh asked them. Listen to what Pharaoh says. Verse 22 of Exodus 1, he says, so Pharaoh commanded all his people, saying, every son who is born you shall cast into the river, every daughter you shall save alive. Since the people within the community would not do it, the midwives, the doulas, and perhaps the nurses and doctors in the community who are working in the hospitals, Pharaoh went above their head and he sent an order to the people of the land. And God is showing us that this is where we are. And so, there are just a few things here that I have noted. Now that you have heard the dream and you have heard the scripture, oh yes, that is the first one. Exodus chapter 1, verses 15 to 17, also supported by verse 22. And the second banner scripture is this, letting you know the preciousness of all children, no matter the background, to God. The creation process is so peculiar to God. It doesn't matter all the other creatures and all the other hybrids and all the other whatevers, even the false humanity that Satan has made. It can never be said of them, this verse, Psalm 139 and verse 14, I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. We are the peculiar creation of Yah. We come from his mind. We are sheathed in his love. We are not a vain imagination. No matter how we get here in this earth, no human being, no child brought into this world is a vain imagination. And we are not even born at the desire of mother or father. We come into this earth at the Lord's intentionality. It does not matter how the life gets here. The life still belongs to God, and the baby is fearfully and wonderfully made, a marvelous work, and the soul of each person, God is saying, should know that very well. But when the birth process is ongoing and you are finding dangerous interruptions taking place, then it is a matter that God must bring to the forefront and highlight, because this is actually happening in the communities. If you look in the other prophecies of Israel that I have made, you will see peculiarities that you may not have heard in any other of the, people call it the waking up videos, knowing who we are videos. This is us. But I don't know if you have been hearing in those videos that they're still eating people today. You see, these are the aspects that the Lord will show me. He will not just show me, oh, historically, this is the process and this is how you know to identify my people. But he will say, yes, my people are being hunted. My people are particularly sought out because their melanin is needed. And so they are dried alive, and then they are frozen, and then they are consumed. And the babies are also highly prized. The babies of Black women who commit abortion are highly prized. Even their placentas are highly prized. And sometimes these children are taken and they are trafficked. They're taken. They will tell you you lost your baby, but you didn't lose your baby. And so I brought all these things forward. And there are just a few more things for us to understand. I've written them down now that you have the banner scriptures. Just a moment here. Let me balance myself properly. So there's just a few things here that we need to understand. One of these things is, so God can tell you that they're creatures. Okay, God has told us that they're creatures. You either believe it or you don't believe it. If you believe it, then more blessing unto you. And why more blessing unto you? Because once you know that there are these beings, that there are these creatures, there's an automatic responsibility and demand on you from God to conduct yourself in such a way as if you know. If you live in a building and there's an axe murderer in that building and you just keep going and coming at odd times and acting like you haven't seen that apartment 5, apartment 7, apartment 13, apartment 1, 6, and 2 have all been subject to axe murderer crimes. And each time the police come and say there's definite proof of an axe murderer here in this building. First of all, if you're still living in that building, you're irresponsible. Second of all, if you're still living in that building, you're not wise. Third of all, if you're still living in that building and living as if there's no axe murderer in your midst, then what you are saying is all the people in the other apartments died because they were stupid. They just casually died because they're not special. Like me, I'm a child of God. I'll never get killed in an axe murderer building because I never have to move, because won't he do it? That is outright foolishness. Discernment is needed when you're living in this earth. So I've written a few things down for us to have an understanding of the fact that once knowledge comes to us, how we can receive it, how we can reject it. I often say that I will not share from my life, but these things are important. And so if there is an instance that I can share with you in an abridged form to let you know how important it is, the decisions that you make when certain information comes your way. Notice that this is not a murder, mystery, conspiracy channel. I'm telling you things that come from the secret place. And so there was a time I went down south to visit family, and it had been a while since I seen them. And so I was very, very joyful to see them. And we went out, just me and one of my favorite cousins, we went out to have a meal, a snack. And we went with somebody who serves in the ministry at her father's church. We went out to have basically ice cream, and we're having the ice cream. And by this time, I think Master's Voice was just a year old or 2 years old. I think Master's Voice was just a year old. I had done about 1 year of video ministry, and I went down with to hang out with my family and to decompress. And then while we were there, we went out, and with people that I'm more comfortable with, I can pour out a whole lot more of the things that I know inside me. So I was talking to my cousin, and I was telling her, ministry is like this, and this is happening, and I'm doing this series and that series. And she's listening. And then I happened to mention about the mermaids. And this man visibly flinched. Just a moment, please. He visibly flinched. He had a visible reaction. I caught it, but it didn't stop me from speaking. And that's because when you know what you know, you know what you know. I mean, there are people who they know things and they package it inside because of the mockery of other people, because of the condemnation of other people. And all I can say is I feel sorry if you live that way, because just imagine if someone is not going to keep their mockery in, why do you keep your knowledge in simply because somebody else mocks? Why is mockery so important in the end days? Have we never read in the scriptures that he says in the last days? We're exactly in that time frame now. It says mockers and scoffers will come mocking. So it doesn't say they will come respectfully to say, what are you guys talking about on this channel? What's going on? They're going to come and they're going to start yelling in all caps, lies, lies. These are all lies. You have exposed your hand, and all the other unbalanced signs that people are not getting enough magnesium in their diet. So why should these things move you? Why are we so easily moved like bowing trees in the wind because of what people say, because of what people feel about certain things? These things, if anything, the winds of adversity, the winds of mockery, the winds of accusation, as they blow upon a tree is getting its opportunity to work out in the high winds of accusation, in the high winds of mockery. If you're a tree who wind blow and then the tree goes crack, or the tree bows in the wind, no. You always know the strongest trees on the landscape. The strongest trees on the landscape, they're standing straight up, or they have a lean to them, but they have not bent or broken under the wings of the adversity that comes. And so if I happen to be comfortable enough in a situation where I'm speaking about things, it wasn't even about the mermaids. I was speaking about the mermaids in passing, but the man had a jolting reaction. And then I saw that he cast eyes at my cousin, but my cousin was so deep in those waffles and ice cream. She was going, and I was continuing to share about the things that I was sharing about. And then I mentioned them again and again. He had this thing where he was trying to catch her eye, right? Because they go to the same church, and he basically was, do you know crazy people? You didn't mention that your cousin that you have been talking about so much was actually crazy, but looks normal. And so he was not going to let this go. And so as I continued speaking about something that the Lord had revealed that I was already teaching, he said, excuse me, Celestial. And I said, yeah, what's up? And then he says, I can't help but notice that you're making reference to fictional creatures. And I looked at him and I said, did I? I wasn't aware that mermaids were fictional. And then he says, but they're not real. And I said, according to who? According to who are they not real? And then at this point, he looks at my cousin as if to say, save me, because the madness at this table is overpowering me. And then she looks at him and she goes, yeah, they're real. They are real. So I'm looking at him now, and she's looking at him now, and he's overpowered. He's like 1 to 2 straight gazes. Nobody's laughing. Nobody's saying, psych, we're just kidding. And so eventually he says, no, they're not. And then I said to him, according to who? Luke 10:19 tells us all the power of the enemy. Have you resourced? Have you done any peer-reviewed studies on what all the power of the enemy contains? And I told him these things are absolutely real. And then I started explaining to him, and this man is becoming overwhelmed, and he keeps casting a gaze at my cousin, but she's deep in these waffles and ice cream, and she's nodding, and she's going, yes, of course. Daddy always told us that. So now his world is being rocked because he looks up to her father, who is a pastor, extremely well studied. So then how can it be? Because now he was willing to write off the crazy cousin, but now the crazy cousin is being backed up by the person he fellowships with. And now the craziness has gone rushing up to the root of the tree to find that the pastor also knows this. So now this man is floundering, he's drowning, and he began to do what all people do when faced with information that they feel cannot be real. He begins to reject it, and he begins to say there's no such thing. And I'm looking at him and I'm wondering, just like many people do, many people will come here and they will say, I was following you, but then you began to, the minute I touch something that you think you cannot believe, guess what you've done? This is like a boat chugging its way to where Jesus is, and you just jumped overboard without so much as a little floating thingy. You didn't even jump off in one of the Titanic lifeboats. You just jumped off and started swimming in this icy sea of unbelief by yourself. And I am content to let you go. I was watching this man to see if he was basically going to say, oh, I throw the whole church away, because some people come here and for the sake of one thing, just imagine one thing that they cannot accept, they throw the entire blog away. And I just pick it up and just give it on to the next person. I was watching to see if he would now throw the church away and the pastor away, to find that the pastor knew this. But all he did, out of respect for the leadership and out of respect for the fact that he's been fellowshipping with them since he was young. So now he was struggling. Does he accept that he is the one who doesn't know? Or is he going to allow his unbelief to rise floodingly all the way up to the top of the leadership and say, well, if this is leadership that believes this, then I can't know. I can't accept. I can no longer fellowship. I cannot anything. And he was struggling, but at least because he had some concept of honor in him, he was willing to listen. And I was trying to bring him to the understanding that there are more things in the quiver of Satan than the majority of standardized, westernized Christians know. A person in Latin America or Africa won't blink twice. You mention this subject, everybody's got a story about how their grandmother was already taken. Everybody's got a story about how their grandfather wandered in the woods and he didn't come back for 3 days. And when he came back, he kept talking about the people who took him, and everyone would be like, oh, it was this. So these things are known outside of most Western societies, but they're not understood. Western society doesn't make room for anything that cannot be quantified on a piece of paper or observed empirically in data studies. And I guarantee you that the mermaids are not coming out of the water to be observed by nobody. God has said quite clearly they will only come out when they are ready. God has said quite clearly that we are surrounded by things, and everybody mocks and says, why isn't there a picture? If there was a UFO, why didn't anyone take a picture? And the Lord said, I brought it out in the prophecy, and he said, imagine people so scarce in knowledge that they think because the number of the circles have increased at the back of their phones, it means that this natural item called a phone is able to capture what lives in the dimensions. God was saying that you can prep your camera and sit on a bluff forever, and the thing will materialize, and before you can click, it will be gone, because they move between the dimensions. So that was one example that I'm giving you to show how people struggle with acceptance. And what comes after when you struggle with acceptance? Lack of acceptance means that you will continue to walk in the knowledge that you have. So that means that there is revealed knowledge, and the revealed knowledge might be out of the reach of what you can accept. And you will not even factor into the fact that your knowledge may be limited, but if you step outside US borders, if you step outside the borders of Canada, if you step outside the borders of Denmark or the Ukraine, somewhere where you may not have heard these things before, once you step outside these borders and you go and spend some time in Kenya, you spend some time in South Africa, you spend some time in Zimbabwe, where they actually pour out something called libations to the mermaids that come. Zimbabwe had a story that went viral, and people either believed it or they didn't believe it, of the fact that they were building a very important dam. A dam is only built by the government. It's not the local community that will build the dam. It's a cost-intensive, time-intensive, labor-intensive process. The government pays for dams. So the government started to build this dam, and every single time they will build the dam, the people building the dam would come back and say, we are not building this dam on our lives and our families' lives, because there are mermaids there are creatures there, we don't want to die, and the project would be abandoned. This happened, I think, 2 or 3 times with local Zimbabwean crews. Every time the workers, the people, from the foreman to the lowest person who's just perhaps mixing the mud, everybody became terrified, and they abandoned the project. And the government had a thought. See the wisdom of the thought. The government did not say, this is a whole lie. We've paid you guys money and you don't want to do the work. Why? Because even the government of Zimbabwe knows that they have creatures that cannot be explained. This is not lore. This is reality. So the government thought, we know exactly who will not abandon this dam. We're going to get some Westerners to build this dam. Because Westerners do not what? They do not believe in the Mami Wata, the mermaid, the siren. No, they don't. They believe in facts and empirical data. We'll hire them. So they hired foreign crews. The foreign crews came in. The foreign crews started working. The government was assured that they would soon have a new dam, but the foreign crews showed up and said, we can't do this because there's paranormal activity going on, and it seems to be fish swimming women. Do you know what it takes to get Westerners to open their mouths and say that, yes, fish swimming women are bothering us with the building of the dam? The mermaids did not want the dam to be built. They did not want any extra obstruction of what they see to be their waters. And so eventually, I don't know if the project was built. I just know that this story was big over there. And it came to my knowledge. And I said, yeah, it sounds about right. You cannot obstruct the right of way of these creatures. These creatures were sinking European ships back in their day. Europeans were wise. Old style people were wise. You read their books, you read their so-called legends. These were their truths that have been turned into the mythology of the Western world. It's basically history that people are teaching at Cornell and saying, we're going to be looking at the history of Greek and Roman mythology. No, you should just say we're going to look at a bit of history today, and all the people who wrote it down were serious about what they said. European sailors, European explorers used to clearly mark out on their maps where creatures with multiple arms would come out. You would actually look at the map and see that they would draw huge squid-like creatures, and then they would say, don't sail there. Don't sail there. And then they would draw another place and say, you see where the rocks are close together? Many ships sink there because the women who brush their hair sit there and sing. I think it's the labors of Ulysses or something like that. There was a man who was sailing, and they sailed past those straits where many, many ships had sunk. And he told all his men to stop up their ears. But he said he wanted to hear the sirens sing. So he told them to tie him to the mast of the ship and then to row, row, row until they got past that point. So they're rowing, and all of a sudden these men whose ears are securely blocked, and he told them, never take out the ear blocks for anything. This is recorded mythology, quote, fingers. He told them, never take out your ear blocks. And he also said to them, no matter what I say or do not untie me from the mast. And they recorded in his story that as they began to go to the place where the sirens sing, this man began to struggle and strain against the ropes, and he began to cry out and try to convince the men that he no longer wanted to be on the ship. He had to be with his true beloveds in the water, to let him go. He would not obstruct them on their journey. He wanted nothing from them, and he no longer wanted to be their captain. Only untie the ropes, for he must be in the water. Siren would make all the men of a ship abandon the ship, jump in the water, and then they would eat them. They eat men. I've covered this already in the mermaid prophecies. This is a shapeshifter. A mermaid will slap some legs on and come and date whoever thinks she's cute. And they are stunningly beautiful, stunningly more beautiful than human women. And they carry the power of seduction. So without even talking to them, you'll think, that's right, I'm going to wife her up and give her 8 babies. None of your babies will have a soul. Mom and the kids will be diving in through the nearest lake and going downstairs to talk to Poseidon, and you'll be fast asleep in the house. You will never wake up from that demonic sleep after that thing is done with you. These are realities. These are realities. The Zimbabweans had to go and pour libations. They had to go and pour a special type of beer that they brew at that place before the paranormal activity stops, because the creatures that demand their dues in different parts of this world are beyond what people think. So that is one example. That is one example of what you will do with the information that you receive. Some people will take the information. If the information is more expansive than their bandwidth, they will struggle. I've noticed a lot of people commenting here during the Beautiful Man series. Celestial, I've tried to follow this Beautiful Man series, but I tell you that my soul is heavy. Sometimes I'm watching the videos and I just fall asleep. And I know what this is. The unwise person will say, you see, her videos are... Be quiet. You should have already left. I gave you the door. If you can't agree, then nobody's forcing you. This is not a hostage situation. Okay? What happens when you are being given information that is more than your programming? Have you ever seen a computer that is almost full, almost full? I go through it all the time. My computers get full very fast because these videos take up a lot of data. Okay? When the computer is almost full and I make a video and then I need to put the video on my computer and just do a little processing with it, try to reduce the size and everything. When my computer has less available memory than the size of the video that I want to put, every time I put it there, the computer's pulling off this thing from my phone and then it just goes, not enough space. Not enough space. It begins to lag and it begins to misbehave. That is what is happening with your internal processing. It is hurting your internal processing to now that you're on Beautiful Men Part 3 or you've watched all the 7 parts, now when you put the TV on, even if they're saying a certain person is missing, you're waiting to see who the woman is missing so that you can just connect with her family in prayer, and then they show you a whole man. As you're watching the whole man, the newscaster comes back and goes, and so that's Melanie missing. And you're looking, it's a whole man. It's a man in a trending bodycon dress. Your programming is crashing because your old reality is crashing. And I have been saying here all this time that God will leave to us absolutely nothing but himself. If you trusted the newscasters, he's going to ruin it. If you trusted the celebrities, he's going to ruin it. You trusted the churches, he's going to ruin it. He's going to ruin everything until you will feel as if you're in limbo and falling. And that is by design. The more out of it you feel, God wants you to know that that's how deeply embedded you were in the lies. The lies of your environment, the lies of how you grew up, the lies of what you thought America was, the lies of what you thought your own country was. The harder it is for you to accept, that's how much your programming is crashing. That's how little space you have to receive anything. And yet he's not going to stop moving the files across until you go and look for greater bandwidth in the prayer closet. Only God will be able to increase you from a 500 gig to a 1 terabyte to a 2 terabyte. If you don't go to him, you will keep crashing. You will keep crashing. Because he will keep bringing the information. God's full intention is to discombobulate us, to show us that we don't know anything. I didn't say we don't know some things. We don't know anything. He will show you that if you thought up was up is actually sideways, around, and at the bottom, and then back to the left. You will not be able to find your way. He is going to, listen to me, God is going to make us helpless until every single morning when we wake up, we'll just say, God, please don't let the cashier be a creature. Please don't let this be this, and please don't let that be that. And now it's time to tell you the third example. I've given you 2. If you act like the information that's coming to you is preposterous, you won't change. If you act like the information that is coming to you is ridiculous, you will mock and not change. If you accept that the information that is coming to you is true, but it's too much for you, you will not seek God to increase. When you increase, guess what? The first thing that happens when God tells you something and you go and seek him for bandwidth, when you increase, you immediately become respectful of what God is telling you. You become mindful of it. It begins to occupy a place in your mind. Your mind becomes full of it. In 2017, I think so. It was either 2017 or 2018. I was living in a different part of Brooklyn. And I've shared before that I began to have a distressing type of dream. God brought this type of dream several times until I got it. And then since I got it, he doesn't bring it as frequently anymore. The type of dream that God was bringing was whereby I would have a day. I would go out. I would do things. I would go places. I would have a day. And then I would come back and dream my day. I would dream the same day, same places, same clothes, same, oh, I saw that person at that place. And oh, I noticed that person when I went to the clinic to have my appointment. The only difference is God brought the dream back, and the people in the dream, not everybody was a person. He would bring the dream back, and then green blouse lady was green blouse snake person. Red shirt person, nice suit man was actually serpent man, android woman. And this is here in Brooklyn. I didn't say it's a mystical place far away, right where I was living. And this thing began to fill me with stress and fear, because why is God showing me my day, but then showing me some people, same people, but then they're not people? And God was basically saying, not every handshake is a necessary handshake. Not every hello is a necessary hello. He's not saying that these beings are going to attack us now. They're not going to attack us now because it's not time to attack us now. God was simply saying, look at the truth of the environment around you. Look at the environment of the nation that you perceive as all people. You're not finding yourself in the Amazon jungle where you might believe that these beings are. It's like, look, no. They have 401ks. They have jobs. They are riding transit just like you. What was God bringing to my forebrain? If you live in a place where it's not all you, you will be very careful how you conduct yourself. One of the things you're not going to do is you're not going to be sleeping around all over the place. I've constantly brought that women, because men don't get pregnant yet, it is women who are going to birth the monsters of the future. Esdras already told us this. Esdras, I think is 2 Esdras chapter 2 and maybe verse 15, where it says that women will birth monsters. Women will give birth to monsters. You will lay down with men whose seed will produce what looks human, but it will carry no soul, for they have no soul to impart, only their own seed. And your human soul, God will not replicate a new soul in what you conceive. Your belly will grow big, yes, but God will not put nefesh. He will not put his breath of life in that thing, because God doesn't waste souls on the Nephilim. So the Lord did this as far back as either 2017 or 2018 this was, when he was showing me, every time you step out of the house, you're not stepping out into the midst of only you. You're stepping out into an environment in which Satan truly believes that he has every right to seed the earth as much as God has a right to seed the earth. To those who would say, oh no, but how is Satan doing it? Just know that Satan was doing it before you were born. Even the U.S. government knows that Satan was doing it because they're always doing business with Satan's creatures and friends. So it's only you out there without the bandwidth. It's definitely not the American president and the American government who doesn't have bandwidth. They know these things exist and they love to receive technology from them. They love it. That's why they always smile and say, I think that what's coming in the future is really going to rock. It's really going to rock our minds. And then they smile and you think, oh, these guys are so smart. They're tinkering in the lab day and night. No. They're in underground bases like school children, sitting and learning things that they've never seen with their eyes. They have, listen to me, the U.S. government has incredible bandwidth. Not only do they believe that these things exist, they've seen it with their eyes and they're fully invested. They have been hiding this information from people for decades, and they will continue to lie about it until when? God said, and I've told you that in America, the lie is only retired when it is expedient. Basically, when you get to the end of the trickery and it's time to reveal the trick, then yes. It doesn't matter if people then find out about it. It doesn't matter even if the Holy Spirit reveals it, because you know what? The trick is already done. They don't mind having other people then reveal that there was a trick in play. The only person who gets stressed by it is the person who never knew that they were at a magic show to start with. The government loves what the Nephilim give them. The government have women who are willingly breeding with the Nephilim to bring out the hybrid beings. And the more you breed a hybrid back with a human, it looks more human. And then you take that result and breed it back with a human. It looks more human until you have people that just look like everybody else going, hey, let's go bowling tomorrow. And it's a thing that doesn't have an inside. So God was revealing to me, it's not just you outside. Caution is required. And one of the dreams that I shared in the prophecy is called Desolations Are Determined Part 6. I actually think that I will just find that clip and put it at the end and join it to this video so that you can watch it and see how it was put across. In the Lord's own words, I think in 2022, for you to understand how much God knows that his people ignored the pings, his people ignored the check, his people ignore the obvious signs. Sometimes these beings will glitch, as you heard. You will see all the whites gone out of their eyes. You will see for a split second another face and then back. You will see for a split second, some of them when they blink, they have another eye up here. They will blink, and for a second, especially when recorded on video, they will blink and there's a second eye up here. That eye up here outside the natural eye does not close. This I can tell you that I've seen with my own eyes. I was watching something. It was about missing persons and how the police go about finding them. And a person had been missing. The whole family believed her murdered by her husband. And they were going from place to place, person to person. getting people's perspective. And they kept going back to the best friend who said, I was always uneasy about the man. He never really gave her a chance to be herself. He never really gave her a chance to be alone. Even when I would call her, he would always be there and he would want to have the phone on speakerphone. The best friend is talking, and I keep looking at this woman's eyes. The best friend is talking, and I keep looking at this woman's eyes. This is a true story. This happened just maybe 48 hours ago. Just to show you how the more submitted to God you remain, he will keep increasing your bandwidth and he will keep honing your ability to see. I ended up kneeling in front of the TV, nose to nose with the picture of this woman as she's talking about the loss of her friend and how she always suspected. And I didn't care about the loss of the friend anymore, because what I perceived was, in this woman's eyes, she was wearing contact lenses. And you know, you can wear contact lenses and that's fine. The contact lens is supposed to sit on top of your eye, is it not? Because our eyes have a particular size. Do we not? Yes. The human eye is only so big. And so the joy of a contact lens is that it will also be the size of the normal pupil. It will sit on top of the eye. And then if your eye is blue underneath and you want brown eyes, then we won't see that. If your eyes are brown underneath and you want green eyes, then we won't see that. This contact lens was sitting on top of a pupil that was bigger than the lens. So as I'm watching this lady, she's supposed to have a normal pupil, and that's supposed to be all. But the contact lens could not hide the fact that there was a pupil behind the lens bigger than the lens. And so instead of it sitting directly over the pupil, hiding only the pupil, and then being white to show where the whites of the eyes, the contact lens was dark in the middle, a dark brown eye, and then it was a lighter brown for a whole, I would say just maybe half a centimeter outside. Every time this woman appeared on the screen, I was kneeling. Forensic detective, Celestial. Every time she came back, I was nose to nose with my screen, looking at her, and I could see that there was a far bigger eye. An eye that, if any of us see it, we're dumping all our goods at Walmart and sprinting. Because if the person goes, excuse me, you're next, and they turn to us with those soccer ball pupils, we're like, I suddenly don't want anything from this store, and we'll be gone. I looked at this thing and I said, you know what? We have come to a time where God is going to open our eyes, and it's my job to tell you that. So you can pay attention to all the noise that is going on social media right now. It's a this, it's a that. Or you can lock in to the fact that God has been warning us here, that the day is coming, that the veil that keeps us protected. Protected from what, Celestial? Protected from seeing what we've never seen before. That veil is going to go bye-bye. You're going to go to the dance recital and God is going to say, hey, look at Jesse's mom. And you're going to look at Jesse's mom, and that will be the last day that your child has a play date at that house. If you do not want your child to be sucked dry like a sun top or like a Capri Sun drink with a straw, that's the last day your kid will go to Jesse's house, because both Jesse and Jesse's moms are beings. That's what God is doing with me. I couldn't believe that in just sitting and looking at something that randomly came after the program that I was watching on the news. And I just thought, oh, okay. They're explaining how they go about finding these people. And that's true. God is going to be finding these people, cold cases. And I'm listening with all empathy and thinking of all the moms that go missing. And then I just see, first of all, the mom who went missing, complete beautiful man. She was the exact size as her husband. Complete beautiful man. A whole man went missing. They're blaming it on the husband. Then the best friend starts talking. I'm already reeling from looking at the man in his wedding dress. A clear man. Then the best friend comes on and I see that we've gone completely out of Beautiful Man series into They Are Among Us series. An unmistakable eye being hidden by a contact lens that is meant to reduce the size of the people. And so God will be bringing our eyes to see what we have not seen before. And he was giving me these dreams and just showing me that they are among you here in the neighborhood. What that did was that informed the way I would deal with people, the way that I would just carry myself when I was out. And one of the dreams that always sticks out in my mind, which will go into another dream, was I hurt my knees in 2020. I hurt my knees really badly, and so I had to go for a long time to get treatment and physio and things like that. And so I would make the trip, same bus ride. You ride the bus one way, you have to connect to another bus, and then you get to the hospital for your bi-weekly appointment. So I'm heading to the clinic. I get to the clinic, I have the appointment, I come back out, I stop at a place to get some food because I'm thinking I'll be tired, and I go home. That night while sleeping, I saw myself making the trip, first bus, and during the day, when we were getting on the second bus, okay, to go to the clinic, something happened. We're getting on the bus, and I'm standing behind a lady. She's wearing jeans. She's wearing, I don't know if it was heels or just normal flats. And she took a really long time to get on the bus. She took such a long time that I remember it caused irritation in the people in the line. I don't know exactly what was causing this woman to take a long time to get in the bus. I just know she took a long time to get in the bus, and the bus driver was getting impatient and telling her to hurry it up. And then she finally got onto the bus. She took out her Metro card, she swiped it, and then she went and she took a seat. Now it comes my time, and I get into the bus, and I go and I take a seat, and then all that happens, go home and I sleep. And in my dream, I'm having this same encounter. I see myself at my day when the time for the appointment comes, get on the first bus, get off at the right stop, line up to get on the second bus, and then there's the lady. But now I see the woman has a massive mammoth crocodile-sized tail, except that no normal crocodile has a tail that size, unless we're going back into ancient times when the crocodile were 40 times bigger than they are now. This woman had a gargantuan, almost dragon-sized tail coming out of the back of her jeans, and it was causing her a problem to get on the bus, because bus doors are meant for people. They're meant for us, tax-paying humans of the United States and wherever it is that you may live. Buses are not meant to accommodate Gargantua and her friends. She was having a problem getting into the bus in such a way that she could tap her card, turn, and then take that tail winding through. When I saw that thing, I said, excuse me, please. I said, Lord, what is left? Please tell me what is left. Always remember that I'm a normal person who interacts with other person on the street during the day. I see people, people see me, and we see each other. So we're living. So the fact that I'm sitting here taking my time to tell you this tells you that not only do I care who receives it and who doesn't, I care about the fact that it must be said so that God can be what? God will never be blamed by human beings. Later, when these things unveil themselves, then you start screaming, O God of heaven, for thou have hidden the truth of the nations, and thou hast hidden from us the deadliness that is among us. Yea, and verily, thou hast done us wrong. Not a single throat will lift that up to God. There are some throats that will say we always knew it because our grandparents told us. But here in the land of logic and pride, there are very few grandparents that know these things. And so the Lord is bringing these things in by revelation. That what? The secret things belong to God, but the things that have been revealed belong to who? To us and our children. That means that after God tells you that some soccer moms are deadly moms, and you don't pray about where your children are going to do sleepovers, then when they call you and they're sobbing and they're telling you, I don't know what happened. And you know what? It will never be their child that they say drowned in the pool. It will always be the visiting child, because sacrifices are needed to whet all of Satan's altars. When I saw that lady with the tail, then I said, God, what is left? Just tell me, Father, what is left? Because if these are my dreams, then what is left? And the answer is nothing. Nothing except to come into the truth that you and your children can pray accordingly. You ask and you say, Lord, open the eyes of my understanding. That's the first level of prayer. If you're sitting and you're listening to this and everything in you, your degrees or your non-degrees, or this is nonsense, this is only from the supernatural series, this is not real. If stuff in you is fighting this, That problem is at your house. That problem is not at my house with my family nor myself. That's the first level. God, open the eyes of my understanding. You're not even asking God to open your eyes that you may see. You're asking God to help you understand, how can this be possible? How is this possible? After that, you are asking the Lord to open your eyes enough to keep you safe. Why are you asking enough to keep you safe and not open my eyes, I want to see them? These things will give you brain freeze. Some of you, you're going to totally disregard what I'm saying to you, and you're going to start praying, God, show me everyone. And then you'll see one, and you're going to catapult ahead of time into Luke 21 and 26, which is what? Men's hearts failing them for the things that will come upon the earth. There's a reason that God has closed our eyes. There's a reason that only witches' eyes are open, for them to see the blood drinkers in the earth. That's because they need to recognize one another for their sacrifices and the evil that they do under the sun. It is always the witch who will tell you that, oh yeah, I've actually seen a human-sized snake before. It's a witch who will describe to you the naga and things like that. The petty things that people call witchcraft in America is laughable, because people outside of America actually enter. If you see people that are manifesting too many behavioral changes for comfort, especially if there is a wild difference from the norm as you have known them to how you will suddenly start seeing them, it is best to give those people a wide berth, meaning give those people all the room that they need. You don't need to be Betty Save-A-Lot. You don't need to be, that person. Learn to keep your own counsel sometimes. Seek the Holy Spirit for wisdom for how to proceed with them. And all that I can say is, especially if this person is a coworker, your spouse, a family friend, and this does not mean that as soon as someone says they want to cut their hair, then you start saying, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew that you were fallen. That's not it. These are changes that discernment will start to tell you. Have you noticed how your roommate has been vegan all her life, and then she suddenly said she's underweight and she needs to have more meat? And that's fine. Everyone has the right to come back to meat if they want. But have you noticed that she's gone from having the medium to rare to now she's just basically laying raw bloody meats in her plate? That's the time. That's the sign that you need to get in your own apartment. That's the clear sign that it's time to live alone. Learn to obey and respect your intuition, your instincts, and your discernment. So this is learning to become the person who doesn't see all the things that I just spent 15-minute listing and then saying, maybe it's just me. Please don't do that in the end times. Please don't disrespect your soul, and please don't diminish your chances of survival like that by seeing things with your eyes, hearing things with your ears, and then disrespecting the monitoring apparatus that God has given you. Your eyes and your ears are to monitor, and then this part, the mouth, is to then share the data that you're seeing. So if your eyes are seeing something and your ears are hearing something, that's the time for your mouth to withhold data and to start looking for a new apartment. Don't be someone who ignores warning signs. Don't be someone who gets beat 3 times and then says, it was because he was angry. I anger him so much. He's going to kill you. He's going to kill you. If he's one of these, savagery is going to break forth out of people. I've been saying it for a long time. Those who like to read crime reports, you will get healed of reading the crime reports, because there's only so he or she made a skin dress of their family reports that you can read. You see the heinousness of the crimes. You see the types of crimes that are being committed, mother on child, father on wife, or father on daughter. You are seeing that the crimes are bent way left. This is evidence of demons in the midst of a population. You live in a country where they're slitting people from top to bottom, taking out all their insides and scooping them out for ritual purposes. You don't need to be told that Satan is in charge of the dinner menu in your country. You don't need to be told. Some of you are sharing from your nations that presidents are conducting rituals in the sea. So you're saying that it's no longer the shamans, it's no longer the witch doctors who are waiting for their sun to set to do this type of wickedness. You're saying that the leaders of nations are making covenants with things that are in the sea on national TV. Such a nation needs to not cry, but scream to God for mercy. Such a nation needs to fall to its knees in repentance, prayer, and fasting and intercession. Because when Satan puts flat feet down on the soil, this is when you see devastating things like this will become mainstream news. It's already happening here in America. Whoever tries to deny that it's not happening, you're being willfully blind. You are disrespecting your intuition, your instincts, and your discernment. Those 3 things sound alike, but they're not the same thing.
This is one thing for sure, right? There is a lot of things going on in the world that you need to prepare yourself for. Get your soul right. Get your spirit right. Put the full armor of God on, because some things are going to start happening in this world that we've never dealt with before. Watch the signs. It's all around you. When you hear rumors of war, when you hear rumors of war, pay attention to the signs and get yourself together. But hey, everyone has their own thoughts and opinions. Make sure you drop down in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about this video. See y'all next time.